Welcome to Green Money Matters, the podcast where your financial future meets the planet's well-being, bringing you the latest on climate issues and uncovering new and exciting investment opportunities that make a positive impact.
And I'm Chris Everett, your guide to sustainable investing, ESG funds, and all things green. Each week, we'll explore the intersection of money and sustainability, showing you how investing wisely can create a greener world and grow your money.
So get ready to invest with a conscience and join the growing movement of individuals who are reshaping the financial landscape. Welcome to Green Money Matters.
Today on the show, we have William Skinner. William is the CEO and founder of Helios Labs. He has nearly a decade of experience across finance, and Helios Labs essentially use cryptocurrency to fund and motivate solar projects. I think I've got that right, haven't I, William? Perhaps you should tell me a little bit more about what you do.
For sure. I'm William. I founded Helios about 2.5 years ago. Helios is an open source platform to fund solar in emerging markets. By using kind of the tech that underpins crypto, we can enable anyone, anywhere to directly participate in the fight against climate change. We offset millions of tons of CO2 emissions each year. We earn strong returns, and we have a portfolio that's rapidly growing across the globe. So super excited to be here and super glad to be talking about Helios today.
Excellent. So, tell us or share with us, how exactly does cryptocurrency fund solar energy projects, and how does it differ from traditional financing methods?
Yeah, so kind of the why crypto question is a very common question. The short answer is this doesn't have to be crypto. You can use Helios as someone who has no interest in crypto, no experience, no desire to engage with crypto really at all. We can give you a full traditional investment experience. The why crypto breaks out into 3 categories. The first one is accessibility. By building on Web3 Rails, we can enable anyone, anywhere in the world to invest rather than having to kind of go through a very lengthy and difficult process of setting up offices and funds in each country that we want to do business in. So with crypto, it kind of enables everyone to participate. So it's not just governments and wealthy corporations pretending like they're fighting climate change. Anyone can actually engage with it. So number 1 is accessibility. Number 2 is transparency. There's a huge greenwashing problem. You donate your money to charity or to a cause you support. You're not really sure where that money goes. You don't know if it's going to management fees or who knows, even just being stolen. Like, a blockchain is a public ledger. By utilizing this technology, we can track every single movement of money, and not just we can track it, but you can track it. So any Helios user can see with absolute certainty everywhere those funds go. So you can see it's going from my wallet to Helios directly to solar. So it's not getting split up into, all sorts of dubious causes. So number 1, accessibility, everyone. Number 2, transparency, everyone knows where their money is going. And number 3 is liquidity. This one's a little bit more complicated, but the essence of it is that if you were to invest in solar today, you're locking up your funds for 7, 10, 15 years. By building Helios in the way that we have, we can reduce those lockup periods down to 3 to 6 months. And that's by using kind of tokenomics and financial engineering on the back end. But those are the key things. Everyone can use it. They don't need a lot of money, and they're certain that they know that their money is going toward real impact. That's why crypto.
Okay, that's fantastic. When we're dealing with things like cryptocurrency, not everyone is as up to date with some of the definitions and vocabulary used around it. So just to take a step back, you said it was built on Web3 Rails. Just briefly explain that.
Yeah, our code is written in Solidity, which is sort of the technology that is used to interact with blockchains, or sort of the programming language, rather. So rather than building in Python and React, we build in Solidity. People think of crypto as like all these different coins. We only use a coin that is basically tied to a US dollar. So there's no volatility in the price of the crypto asset. There's none of the volatility that you'd expect from the crypto space is present in what we're doing. In fact, one of the core theses of building this was there's so much volatility in the crypto space, right? Your money is just up and down, up and down, up and down. We wanted to create sort of a fixed income investment solution. So rather than your money going up and down, up and down, up and down, it's just kind of building at a steady 10, 12% clip. So the crypto side of what we do is almost entirely on the back end. Like for our users, they don't need to worry about it. In fact, like in the 6 months, I would like someone to be able to go through the entire Helios flow without ever knowing that they are interacting with a crypto protocol at all.
All right. You talk about decentralized finance or DeFi. What is DeFi's role in funding renewable energy initiatives like solar projects?
I would like it to be a lot bigger. I would like there to be a lot more push for real world assets and specifically solar assets within DeFi. All DeFi really is financial applications built on Web3 rails. So sort of the infrastructure, basically like if you put a blockchain underneath things, you can do a lot of really cool stuff. There's a lot of like cool aspects of the crypto tech stack that have really nothing to do with like what people think of as crypto traditionally. It's sort of more like using the building blocks of crypto, not using like Doge coins or whatever Elon Musk is doing these days. I don't know. So DeFi is essentially just a layer of financial applications built on Web3 rails because Web3 rails are a system of moving value from one place to another via coins generally.
Okay, I'm with you. I mean, are there potential risks or challenges that investors should consider when taking part in a cryptocurrency-backed solar initiative?
Oh, yeah. I mean, any investment decision should be approached with caution. Any crypto investment decision should be approached with extra caution. I will say we would like to be the safest investment in the crypto world because we're not like a lot of crypto investments sort of like you create a coin and like, does it have value or not? It's just sort of like, we don't really know. And then the price goes like this. With Helios, you are investing in infrastructure in emerging markets. Like you are actually like not technically owning because of regulatory reasons, but essentially Helios as an entity owns solar all around the world. And you are putting in your money to fund more solar. We take that money, we fund the solar, and we sell energy, and that forms the yield of our protocol. So the mechanism that is actually creating your profit is a real world contract, like a 10 to 15 year contract with a multinational corporation to sell them energy. It's like fixed income. Like the Helios yields do not vary. It's a real world contract called a power purchase agreement, and it's just specifying like, you will pay us this amount for this electricity for this many years. That will form this yield. You know, there's a whole bunch of insurances and warrants and things that make sure that like, if inflation gets too high, like we're still going to get paid in the way that we expect. Because if you're dealing with a 10 to 15 year contract, like that needs to be a pretty tight contract, pretty ironclad. So compared to most crypto investments, it is, I would say, very, very low risk. That said, any investment decision should be approached with caution. Don't trust random people on the internet with all your money. I hope people know that.
Always good advice, yeah. The cryptocurrency market is clearly a very volatile one. How do you ensure the stability of funding for solar projects?
To make sure that our funding is stable, we only use what's called a stable coin. It's essentially a crypto asset, but it's tied to a US dollar. So it's always worth $1. And that's kind of the point of it. For a long time, I've been in the crypto space for 9.5, almost 10 years now. A lot of that time, there weren't stable coins. So if you put money into crypto, like you were just riding the roller coaster and there was nothing you could do because it's so difficult to get in and out of crypto. Like that's the biggest pain point. So no one wanted to do it. And it's like, and you incur a taxable event. So like, it's really a mess, especially if you got in super early, you might owe like $4 million in taxes. So someone somewhere really, really smart created a stable coin, and they used really awesome technology to make sure that that coin is tied to the value of US dollar and will always be one. So the only asset that Helios accepts is USDC. It's a USD coin, US dollar coin, and that will always be $1. So like, we're a fixed income protocol. Like we can't deal with the volatility of crypto. So we just use the most stable form of crypto, which is the stable coin, which is basically $1. And like that eliminates any of the super volatile crypto stuff. Like we're just completely separate from that. No asset, no money that ever comes into Helios will ever go towards any of the things you traditionally think of as crypto. It's more like we use the crypto tech to build our tech, but you are just funding solar. I think of it as like the most stable and the least crypto project, basically.
That's a good line. Now, you've been in cryptocurrency and been a founder and a startup for about 10 years now. What particularly brought you to this specific project, using crypto to fund solar energies?
My approach to build Helios very, very, very intentionally. Like, I think a lot of entrepreneurship is sort of like, I stumbled upon a problem and I want to fix it. And it's like sort of this like cool natural journey. I sought out to build, not Helios, but I knew I wanted to build in the climate space. So I've been an entrepreneur for 10, maybe even 11 years now. I've been building all sorts of stuff. I've worked in finance and in tech as well. So for me, I just left my product manager job. I knew I wanted to build something. I was ready to build another company. I'd found success building companies in the past. I know this is what I want to do. So I actually joined an organization called South Park Commons, SPC. If I had 1,000 hours, I still couldn't say all the good stuff I want to say about SPC. It's like the greatest organization in the world. But the core thesis that really attracted me to SPC was you get 1 or 2 chances to build your life's work. So take your time, be very intentional. A lot of kind of like the startup world is go, 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 speed, 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 build as quickly as you possibly can. And SPC says like, yes, that, but before you go hyperspeed, like make sure what you're building matters. Make sure what you're building matters to you and make sure it's the right fit for you. So when I came to SPC, I knew I wanted to build a climate startup. But I didn't really know anything about climate. Like the only thing I know about climate is like I grew up in the middle of woods in northern Wisconsin. Like I grew up in a town of like 6,000 people. Like I'm very familiar with nature, but like why is this protective layer of gases around our world disintegrating? Like, I don't know. I have no idea. So I went to SPC and I just spent 6 months just researching like, what is climate change? What is actually causing this? And most importantly, like, what can I do about it specifically as me? Like, as Will Skinner, how can I contribute? So it's just doing a lot of research on, like, what are the ways people can help? And then what are the ways that with my skill set, I can build things that enable this? So really, the very beginning of Helios was just like me trying to invest my own money in something that would help climate change, to be honest. Like I sold a company in 2019, I got a nice windfall, and like I was like, okay, well the first step of building a climate startup is just like, I'm just gonna put some of my money and go help climate, fund something good. I spent months trying to figure out how to do that, and it was so difficult. And it's like, even if you can do it, it's like, is it doing anything? Like, am I actually creating any change? Like, if I fund this ESG ETF, right, how much of the money goes to solar? The answer is about 10%, which is like, but wait a minute. The IPC says solar is the best way to fight climate change. Why does this fighting climate change investment vehicle only put 10% of its money toward the most effective way to fight climate change? That seems a little silly. Where's all the money going? Like, 70% of it is like mega cap tech stocks. Like, your money's just going to Apple. Like, what the hell does that have to do with climate change? Like, aren't they the ones causing it with huge servers and all the, like, you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck is this? So it's just such a bizarre experience trying to figure that out. I'm like, well, there's got to be a better way to do this. Like, I know there are ways to fight climate change very effectively. And I think I'll finish with this because I could just go on and on forever about this. The core thesis, what I really wanted to figure out, how do you make fighting climate change profitable? Because if something can make money, you can get everyone to do it. Think about, like, I think the easiest example is recycling. Like, copper is recycled because it's very valuable. Like, people will pull things apart. Or like a battery, an EV battery takes 2 guys an hour on a table, 2 like experts in a Tesla factory. They put that battery on a table. They take basically screwdrivers and pull it apart, like piece by piece. It takes them an hour to do per battery. They do it because what's inside the battery is really, really expensive. But there's a lot of stuff that doesn't get recycled. Why not? Because it's not valuable. It's like, yeah, both of them do an equal amount toward fighting climate change, but one is profitable, so it's done en masse all across the world, and one isn't profitable, so it's just not done at all, and it's contributing to, like, ocean pollution and all these things. So it's like, if we can make fighting climate change profitable, we can achieve the, like, levels of buy-in and the levels of scale to actually make a very real difference. So I think that's what lies at the core of Helios, is like, we made fighting climate change a very profitable endeavor. So even if you don't care about the climate at all, you can invest in our product and make a bunch of money.
You chose to use this methodology, this strategy for solar because that's one of the big ones. But would you consider using this strategy to fund other types of project, wind, tidal, all those sorts of things?
Absolutely. Like anything that kind of fits our model of like, we pay an upfront cost and then you pay monthly to use that thing. Like it's a simple subscription. Like you can use Helios's tech to fund anything. And my favorite thing is, once again, everything we do is open source. Like you can go to our website, go to our GitHub code repository, click copy and paste, make your new library, paste it, and just start a new Helios. Like, it's not just legal, it's encouraged. Like, we want you to do it. I've told this, like, to plenty of people. It's like, if you want to copy Helios, I won't be mad. In fact, I'll come on as an advisor, just like to make sure you're using the tech right and to do as much good as we can. Because it is open source technology. Anyone can copy it. But climate change, I feel like this is my life's work. Like, this is what I'm here to do. Like, I've spent all this time learning this set of skills. I want to do something good with it. I want to create something that I can put out into the world and say, whoever wants to use this however they want to use it, please do use it. And yeah, I think like that's one of the awesome things about Web3 technology and the community is like things are open source. It's super, super encouraged. We can't fight climate change alone. Like we need help.
Okay, yeah, understood. Could you tell us about a real life example of how this has been applied and how it's working?
Yeah. Some of the projects online, we've got a mall in India, we've got 2 universities in Dubai, a liquor manufacturer in Uganda. So as far as working with large multinationals, that primarily is like our play in South America. There's some complexities to the business. We focus on emerging markets specifically, and we operate across emerging markets. But each one is very, very different, right? So how we do solar in India versus how we do solar even in, nearby Dubai is like fairly different, mostly just like how it's regulatory structured, like legally structured, maybe is an easier way to put that. We do the same types of projects. Like the projects we specialize in are commercial and industrial rooftop solar. We do this because they're the strongest. We don't want to work with residential because it's too small. We don't want to work with a utility scale because there's too much government involvement, and governments in emerging markets can be, they can kind of play by whatever rules they want to. So we try to avoid that. So we work only with kind of large businesses that have been around for at least 10 years because we're signing a 15-year contract. We need to make sure that this private entity is going to be able to continue to repay us for the lifetime of the contract. So I'd say my favorite example right now in a project I'm really, really excited about, they're early childhood development centers in Brazil. There's like 160 so of them, and they've identified that they're not getting this like strong educational foundation from the age of like 3 to 7 or something. So foundational childhood education. There's all these centers, and we're able to build solar on top of each of their centers. So we're doing environmental good by building solar. We're doing social good by encouraging early childhood development. We're doing economic good because the people installing those solar are locals. So we're like bringing economic opportunity to these like farther away regions. And like we're right on the front line of education, of climate change. Like I just get so excited. There's just so much good you can do kind of all at the same time. And I think that's very, very intentional. Like incentive alignment is super, super important. Like everyone should win in the same way. Helios is structured in a way that if our users win, then our team wins, then our company wins, then our clients win, then the planet wins. And no one can deviate. So it's like everyone is incentivized to do the best thing, which is fund as much solar and maximize profit, maximize solar, minimize risk. Like our solar developers, they don't just build the project and sell it to us. Like we make sure that they still have an equity stake. So they do operations and maintenance for the next 20 years. So then we're certain that they're giving us projects that are good because they're also investing in that project. We work with the distributed pool of solar developers from all over the world. Using that methodology, we can pick like each of the best solar projects from all over the world. So we can do, one in India, one in Brazil, one in Mexico, and then like, a bunch of bad projects come up. We don't have to do any of those. We can just wait. We have all these other projects that we're always doing.
So how does that marketplace work? Where's the point of interaction between you, Helios, who are essentially the funding arm, and the practical implementation arm, or the people coming to you saying, hey, we've got this hugely desirable concept going on here that needs some good, clean energy. Where do all those points of interaction happen and take place?
I think one very important thing to start with is the cost of solar has fallen 89% in the last 10 years. I think a lot of people have heard this statistic. If not, it's very important because it's important to understand that solar is an energy source we want to use because it's good for the planet. It is. But solar is an energy source we want to use because it's cheaper than the other energy sources. So like, not only do we make money selling energy, but our clients save money by buying energy from us. So we make money selling energy cheaper than the grid is selling it because it's so cost effective to produce solar, to produce and install solar. So we work with developers. We, Helios, fund them. The developers coordinate the development of the project, which is a fairly large job. And then there's the EPC firm, in engineering, procurement, and construction. They're the ones who actually build the solar. So we give money to these developers, they're funding solar projects, and then the EPC firm builds it. So the EPC firm gets paid, developers get paid, and we get paid. Like, it's so cost effective to build solar that you can have like the entire value chain just like absolutely profiting and still keep that incentive alignment, if that makes sense. So how does it work practically? I'd say we have a kind of a pool of solar developers around the world, and they bring us projects, and then we'll just do our due diligence process. By using kind of a more distributed model, we can work with any solar developer anywhere, all of whom are doing a better job solar developing than we could. They've been operating for 10, 15, 20 years. So we can like just go to each of them and say, hey, let me see all your best projects. And because we're operating in emerging markets, like we can do that. Like if we did that in the US, they would just be like, no, like, no, all of our pipeline goes to BlackRock. They give us infinite money and everything's good. But in emerging markets, it's completely different. There's not enough funding and too many great projects. So too many great projects, not enough money. In America, it's way too much money, not nearly enough projects. But like they're hesitant to make that jump over to emerging markets, understandably, but yeah.
So how many active projects do you currently have?
Between 7 and 11, I think, depending on how you define. So the trouble with answering this question is like, we send them the money, but it can take up to like 8 months to build the actual solar. So like, is that project online? Like, well, it's not online, but we paid them like last year. So they're paying us, we're earning money, but the project isn't like finalized. So like 7 to 11, somewhere in there.
That sounds to me like 11. So
yeah, hopefully many more. We've got a few projects in the pipeline that are like 10 different installations all in one project.
I'm going to get onto your future plans shortly. But as an investor, I've got a few thousand in cryptocurrency, jumping up and down depending on what's happening today or tomorrow. How do I engage with Helios Lab and put this money to good use?
If you're a crypto investor, it's really, really easy. You go to our website. Well, we haven't launched yet. We're launching at the end of this month. Really exciting. Woo! But anyway, once we launch, you can go onto our website and you can invest your money into solar inside of like 5 minutes. It's pretty simple. You connect your wallet, you deposit your coins into a pool. So a pool is a lot of solar projects all together. So there's a lot of portfolio theory going on here, but essentially we have pools of solar for each region. So we have India pools and Africa pools and South America pools. And within each of those pools is a collection of solar projects. So you're never investing into a single project because it's a lot riskier to invest into one project than it is to invest into a group of projects. If one goes wrong, you don't lose all your money. Like it's fine. All these other ones are good, and like it kind of shores up before. It's like don't put all your money in one stock. Like don't put all your money in one solar project. What's awesome about what Helios does is like you can invest in solar in Brazil, and then in solar in India, and then in solar in Africa. So like even if the Brazilian economy explodes, which it's not going to, it's the fastest growing economy in Latin America, you're still fine because you've still got these Africa projects, you've still got these India projects. So like the level of diversification you're able to achieve with global pools of projects is pretty incredible. And I think that's one of the things that really reduces the risk in my mind and just makes it a much stronger investment. Like if someone has said fund solar in South Africa, I would be interested and I would be like, that's cool. But what happens if there's a lot of turbulence in South Africa? Like, I would be more hesitant. But with this global portfolio, it's like, no matter what happens, even if there's earthquakes all around the world, like, we have earthquake insurance too, by the way. So, like, each group of projects is safe. So how would you invest? You would go onto our website, you'd select which pools of projects you want to invest in, and then you would just click submit. You'd sign a transaction, and that would be it. So that's the crypto flow, very simple. We sought to make the non-crypto flow just as easy. You sign into our website, you make an account with your email. All of the crypto stuff is handled on the back end. So when you put in that email, we make you a wallet and we give you kind of placeholder tokens, but all of that is on the back end. You don't need to know any of that, but it enables you to get all the superpowers I mentioned earlier, accessibility, transparency, because we handle all of that for you. So you can pick out which solar projects you want to invest in, and then you'll be prompted to connect your bank account. You connect your bank account through Plaid or through Stripe, so we never see any of your information, never. Super encrypted, handled by a third party. We do KYC to make sure that we're not laundering money or enabling individuals to launder money. So we do KYC. Again, all of that information is encrypted. All of that is handled by a third party. We keep it super simple, super fast. You can pass KYC. I think our record's 46 seconds. It's really quick. Put in your email, connect your bank account. We make sure you're a good person, and then you're off to the races. Yeah. Then you can choose your solar projects and fund.
So if I, as an investor, will go there. I'll see a pool of projects. Let's call it the African pool, and I will then be able to see some sort of risk assessment. I'll have an understanding of what returns I can get. Will there be fixed returns? What will I see from that side of things?
Yeah, so you'll see kind of a full description. It starts with the region. So you'll click into the pool, and it'll be Africa pool, and it'll just have some information on here's what's going on in Africa, solar, information on specifically which projects are in there. So you'll see, 7 different projects, and you can click into those projects and get information on each one. And then for the financial information, it'll tell you, this is your fixed return. This is how much you're going to make. These payments are monthly. They begin 3 to 6 months after your first investment, because solar takes a while to build. This is how long this lasts, generally 10, 15 years. Your lockup period, again, is short. You can pull your money out within 3 to 6 months. Depending on the investment size, if you give us a whole bunch of money, it's more difficult for us to offer a low lockup period. But for the average investment, you've got a 3 to 6 months lockup period.
I mean, are you looking at a particular size of investor, or, can anyone with $20 get in on the action?
Yeah, anyone. The core principle of Helios, the fundamental mission, is enable anyone anywhere to fight climate change. So anyone can do it. If you live in Uganda and you've got $20, you can use Helios. We want to enable anyone to do it, so we're going to make them really low. Even if it doesn't really make sense for us, and it doesn't make sense for building solar at scale, it's very, very important to us that anyone can do this, because kind of the founding was why is it so hard to do this? Even as someone with objectively plenty of money and the connections and the expertise. I used to work at a private equity fund. How can I not figure out how to fund this? That's so frustrating. What must it feel like for the average person who isn't as versed in investment and doesn't have the same amount of capital, maybe doesn't live in the US or lives somewhere else? They know that climate change is melting the world, and they just can't do anything about it. That's the worst. So even if it doesn't make economic sense for us, it's so important for us to give everyone that agency to actually make a difference, that we're setting minimum investment amounts at basically zero. Because some platforms it's $100, anyone can do it. But $100 in Uganda is quite a bit of money. So we want to make it even lower. We really want to open this to anyone.
Excellent. Now, I guess you've had to negotiate a bit of a minefield of regulations, both within the US market and, of course, where the sort of projects themselves are taking place. Could you tell us a little bit about how you've managed to navigate your way around all those kind of restraints?
Yes. In short, it's very, very complex. It took us a very, very long time. I have a background in FinReg, not super directly, but I did a lot of FinReg at the last company that I worked at. So I have a good understanding of it. I spent a lot of time working in finance. So I know the landscape fairly well. but it was still like an epic learning journey, figuring out like, how do you structure an international fund? And like, how do you structure like a Web3 international fund? And what does that change? The answer is it changes everything. Helios is like 7 or 8 companies. In a future state, it'll be like 20 companies like all tied together, because you need a legal presence in every single country you operate in. So the regulatory is really, really difficult, but we've made it work.
I mean, generally speaking, with any sort of compliance or regulatory issues, you just go to the regulator and say, okay, now, am I doing it right? What else do you need to know to make it right for us all? But at the cutting edge with cryptocurrency, blockchain, all those sorts of things, I'm sure you're bumping into issues and occasions where the rules just haven't been written yet.
Yeah, all the time. Like, you can't ask the SEC what to do because they don't really seem to know. And I mean, if you look at what's happening with Coinbase, they went to the SEC and they're like, how do we do this? And the SEC's like, didn't answer them. And then the SEC sued them for not doing it right. And they're just like, excuse me, how do I do it then? Like, what's the right answer? Like, why are you suing me for a rule you haven't written? Like, the fuck? But that's the reality of the crypto space. So like, yeah, when I say regulatory is a mess, like, it is a mess. Like, because they don't know. Like, the crypto moves too fast, and the regulators like don't really seem to know what they want to do. Some of them are like, crypto must die. Some of them are like, we're in BlackRock's pocket, crypto must live. Like, it's like, yeah. It's really tough. I've been in crypto for a long time, so it's very complicated, but we've taken a lot of time and we're doing it as best we can. And, you know, if the SEC pings us saying, hey, you need to do something differently, like, we have just enough flexibility in our model to like change things if, you know, regulation shifts. But probably like the most complex part of Helios realistically is just like making sure that we're not doing illegal stuff accidentally because the laws haven't been written.
Yeah, I can imagine how stressful that could be at times. Now, crypto in general has its own sustainability issues. You know, Bitcoin mining contributing to greenhouse gas emissions with electricity consumption. How do you tally that aspect of the sector or that aspect of cryptocurrency with the good that you're doing by encouraging green and clean energy investment and what to some extent might seem a rather dirty type of currency?
Yes, there are pros and cons in all things. Bitcoin operates on a system called proof of work. That was like the fundamental, like, explosive idea of Bitcoin. That, like, people have been trying to do digital cash for a long time. Bitcoin succeeded because Bitcoin found out a really, really intelligent way to make sure that nobody was cheating the system. It's called proof of work. It requires a lot of computational power. As time has gone by, that computational power is going up and up and up because it needs to get harder and harder because technology gets stronger and stronger. So now the energy use of Bitcoin is like infinity. Long story short, that's why nobody really uses Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoin started the wave and like got everything going and like is a master stroke of genius. But there's no reason to use it because there are just like much better alternatives now that have kind of like built on the principles of Bitcoin. So rather than proof of work, which is a ton of computational power, there's now proof of stake. And proof of stake is saying, like, rather than using a ton of computer power to prove this is correct, you can just say, like, I have so much coins that this is correct. And if it's incorrect, you take all my coins. So you're kind of like staking your coins. It's called proof of stake. So it's a different system that doesn't use a ton of computational power. So Bitcoin is using, you know, the computational power of like a small country. We're not on Bitcoin. There's Bitcoin, there's Ethereum, and then there's kind of like derivatives of Ethereum that are even more cost effective, even less energy intensive. So we're actually launching our product on a chain called Base. We are launching on Coinbase's Base chain, and the energy usage of that chain is like very, very minimal. Like, the tech that underpins it is fundamentally different than the Bitcoin mechanism. So like proof of work was really great, and then people like, this is too much energy. So they made proof of stake, and like now they're making like even cooler stuff. So like before, a transaction on Bitcoin can take like 11 hours to fulfill. You'll pay like $40 in like transaction fees. The chains that we're using now take less than 1 second to confirm the transaction. I paid 1/4 of a penny the last time I did a transaction, and the energy use is like, it's just not the same. And truth be told, I think like the most difficult part of solar is not that crypto uses a lot of energy, because it doesn't really anymore, despite it used to. It's that there's ethical concerns with like mining and child labor involved in the production of solar panels. So we've like been back and forth and thought about this endlessly. Like, we tried to source like the good solar panels, but like It's tough because a lot of Chinese companies don't play by the rules. And there's actually this whole thing going on between China and India. Like, to make solar, you need lithium, and to make a panel, you need someone to like put that panel together. So there's like bad things happening with mining in Africa, and there's bad things happening with how things are put together in China. We do our best to source our panels sustainably. Unfortunately, like as the capital provider, we don't have a lot of control over like the EPC firm. So it's like we're the capital provider, then the developer, then the person who's actually building it, and they're the ones buying the panels. It's like there's not a lot we can do, and I think that frustrates me a lot. I think at the end of the day, like we're doing a lot of good by building solar, and it can be a slippery slope to say like, well, we should not build solar because it's bad for the environment because you have to mine lithium. It's like, well, on a 20-year to 30-year time frame, you're doing a lot more good than you are doing bad. So like in all of life, there are trade-offs. Like that's just kind of one that we live with.
Yeah, look, I get it's a difficult balance. Everything you do has some impact on the environment. And I don't envy you having to make those decisions, but I'm glad you're there trying to make the best decisions you can in an imperfect world.
Exactly.
Having said
We're just doing our best.
Yeah, I can see that. Tell me, what's coming up for Helios? I mean, you're launching at the end of this month. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes. Our public launch is coming up. We've been funding solar for a long time, but it's always been like private transactions, sort of like friends and family rounds and like high net worth individuals that we've worked with through our networks. But again, the point of Helios is everyone can use it. Right now, we're almost done building the tech. We actually just finished our audit. So we had basically the best auditing firm in Web3. It's called Trail of Bits. They've been around for a long, long time. They're like the gold standard of auditing. So we had them audit our contract to make sure that there are no vulnerabilities or securities, nobody's stealing our money. So we'll get the results of that today, and then we'll have our official launch toward the end of this month. And that will be our big go live. At that point, anyone can go onto our website and directly start funding solar. Initially, it will be crypto only. We're finalizing some regulatory documents, so we can't take on like non-crypto investors just yet. We have the Raise Green fund. Through a third party, you can interact as like a completely non-crypto user. We do have to use a third-party crowdfunding platform called Raise Green. Super fantastic platform. They fund all sorts of awesome solar. Super strong founder, great team. Like we love Raise Green.
We know Raise Green. We had Franz Hochstrasser on the show a few episodes ago. Yeah, that's excellent. Great that you've got that interaction or intersection of investments going.
Yeah, we want to work to integrate with as many people as we can. Like, we all need to work together because there's hundreds of billions of dollars of solar that needs to be funded. So, like, if all of us don't do it, we're going to be in really big trouble. It's actually my favorite part about building in climate. Like, the people you meet are fantastic. They're super mission driven, and like they want to work together because they understand that it's not this like corpo capitalist like thing trying to make as much money and like just like squeeze out competitors. It's just like we all need to do this or the earth is going to burn. Like, how do we all help each other? How do we work together? Like the collaborative spirit, it's just fantastic. What else is coming? We've got so many great projects coming out of South America right now. I'm actually traveling to South America in May, late April, May. I'm going to go down to Brazil and start seeing about these projects personally. So very excited.
Excellent. That sounds really thrilling. We'll be watching this space with bated breath. I think it's excellent what you're doing, William. I think your ingenuity and application is just excellent. I love your motivation. I love your optimism. I love your enthusiasm. And thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. If anyone wants to use Helios, stop by at the end of the month, www.helios.eco, E-C-O. We fund solar all over the world, and you can too.
Nice, William. Excellent. William Skinner of Helios Labs. Thank you so much. And that wraps up another episode of Green Money Matters. We hope you're feeling inspired to take your investments to new green heights. Remember, it's not just about the bottom line anymore. By aligning your investments with sustainable values, you have the power to shape a better future for generations to come.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to Green Money Matters on your favorite podcast platform and never miss an opportunity to grow your wealth sustainably. Together, let's make money matter for the planet.
And don't forget to leave us a review. We really would love to hear your thoughts or ideas for future episodes. Drop me a line by email at chris@greenmoneymatters.com.
Stay tuned for our next exciting episode, where we'll explore groundbreaking investment opportunities and unveil the secrets of successful sustainable investors. Until then, remember, green money matters. Because investing in our planet's future is the smartest choice you can make. Thanks for joining us.